All right, Joe, quickly, we have to get into NBA. I'm going to just throw out some of my futures and what I'm on here. And then if you have anything you want to throw out, you're welcome to it. We'll get in plenty of the NBA as the season goes on, kind of how I bet it, what I'm looking for. We've got 9 days until the season starts, and I'm very excited about that. The NBA is a great thing. We only have 72 games this year, so it's a little bit more helpful as far as we don't have so many games, that kind of thing. We'll have a couple fans in some stadiums, and there is an All-Star break in March. As far as for me, Eastern Conference is pretty simple. I think the value is wildly high on the Miami Heat. I think you can make the case they are the best team in a very stacked Eastern Conference. They're very good defensively. They have a star. They're well coached. They're good bench wise. They did lose Jay Crowder, which hurts, but I think they'll be fine as long as they still have Iguodala. Bam Adebayo's turned into a star. I love Jimmy Butler. I love Hero. And when I look at the rest of the East, I still think Brooklyn's obviously very good, but with just some, I think, the chemistry issues. And look, I do think Kyrie Irving's a bit of a lunatic, and I think at some point we'll probably have some sort of issue with Kyrie Irving. The Sixers, and I'm sure Joe will quickly hit on this when we talk to him. I just don't think they've improved much. I still think they're the fifth or sixth best team, maybe the fourth best team. Toronto will be interesting, but I think the value's on Miami, 6.5 to 1. I'll gladly take them. Joe, what do you like in the East? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like Toronto a lot. I think they go very underrated. I think just across the board, you're going to hear everybody else's names, especially everybody's going to be high on Brooklyn. I get a little weary on Brooklyn because I think that they're going to have a very like Cleveland Browns 2019 effect where
Yeah,
everybody's,
dream team type of thing.
yeah, everybody's going to want to bet on them. So I think a lot of their lines are going to get pushed as the favorite. And I just don't love that. I will say tonight, though, their first preseason game with Durant and Kyrie together. They played 9 minutes together in the first quarter, and they had combined 23 points on 8 for
Yeah,
9 shooting.
yeah.
So,
I saw a couple of clips. They like destroyed the Wizards. Who
yeah,
look,
not too shabby.
if you know anything about the Wizards, I mean, they were, I think, the second worst team in the NBA last year defensively, and it doesn't seem like much has changed. Um, Gotta love the NBA, but yeah, I mean, they're really good, and look, they have plenty of depth there. I know I took a Ryan a little bit. He really liked the Nets, and look, no one's going out on a limb. I mean, the Nets are going to be good. They have just talent up and down. If they can just kind of be that defensive team they were last year, I think they're going to be right there. But I'm going to go with Miami. I'm going to go with the team that I just think is. I don't see many flaws. Celtics, I think they're just really dependent on Kemba Walker. I don't know if they'll get some of the same performances they got. They lose Gordon Hayward, they lose Cantor. I
But
think
I will say with the Celtics, I love the Celtics, what they did this offseason for what they needed.
mhm.
Brad Stevens is an amazing coach, and for them to add Teague and Thompson
Yeah,
to their second unit, I think for them, it's one of those for them it's a lot more impactful than it sounds like.
little more
Those
dependable. That's a good point.
yeah,
I
those
think
two
the
yeah,
problem you have with Teague though is just he doesn't fit with what they do defensively at all. And I think what you run into in that situation is kind of similar to what the Clippers are dealing with, where their first unit's really good, but like the Clippers' second unit sucks. I mean, they don't play defense, and you're going to get some offense out of Jeff Teague, but he's a fucking turnstile in defense. What's Aaron Naismith defensively? Tristan Thompson. How much does he have left? You definitely lost Enos. Who'd you rather have, Enos Cantor or Tristan Thompson?
yeah. No, that's a good point. And what I will say about Gordon Hayward, I think that very much like the Al Horford move, I think that's addition by subtraction. That just clearly, from the jump wasn't going to work out. So Boston's a team that I'm very, fearful of as a Sixers fan, but very interested in as far as a better.
Yeah, I think your point is interesting, but I think from a net negative standpoint, I just think you're kind of stunting the growth of a pretty good bench, frankly. I don't Jeff Teague, I don't think fits. And then you draft Peyton Pritchard. I didn't really understand that. Like you still have Carson Edwards. Like, why did you bring in Jeff Teague? I'm not quite sure I understand that at this point. Like
Yeah,
I,
that
I
to
think
me
it's a
felt like
name, but it's like,
yeah, that felt like more of like just a veteran to bring in. I actually would have loved to see the Sixers. He would have been a guy that I would love
yeah.
to have seen the Sixers go out and
No, I
grab.
agree 100%. I agree 100%. And we'll get into the Sixers as the season goes on. Obviously, our interview went a little long, but yeah, for me, it's pretty simple. I didn't play much in the East. I think a team to keep your eye on is Atlanta. Very good. Really did nothing well last year. They're poor offensively, they're poor defensively. But I'll tell you what, Joe, they added a real good group. Bring in Bogdan Bogdanovic, one of the better shooters in the league. Bring in Danilo Gallinari, who's been a sniper since he came in. They get Clint Capella back, fully healthy. Defensively, they're going to be much better. I'm telling you, this team, keep your eye out. Rajon Rondo, good veteran presence. This is the kind of guy I think you bring into a team like Atlanta, because at the end of the day, Trae Young, while good, was still a team that was dead last in the league from a 3-point standpoint. They didn't defend much. They needed to get tougher on that end. They needed a little bit more help, and I think they did do that. Can they win, 10 or 12 more games and hit their win total? I don't know. That's a little high, but don't be surprised if Atlanta becomes kind of I don't know, the Pacers, maybe, down the road. I don't think they're good enough to compete, but they're going to give teams a lot of tough basketball games. Western Conference. We know how good the Lakers are. I thought they had flaws last year and they still won the NBA title. I think their starting lineup is as good as it gets. Dennis Schroeder, I'm a big fan of. We know what LeBron and AD give you. Marcus Gasol is a better player than JaVale McGee. It's just that simple. You still have Marquise Morris. You still have Kuzma. And you go out and get Harrell. I mean, I don't know why Harrell was let go. Obviously, you can't keep everyone, but that's going to be a big loss for the LA Clippers. Love Wesley Matthews, always have liked him. And Kuz continues to develop. So the Lakers are very good, but it's where do you go for value? And look, I'm going to keep saying this. I think the Mavericks have some of the highest value in the NBA. I think they made just some terrific moves. Josh Richardson, who I was a big fan of here. Did you like Josh Richardson here, Joe?
I did, and what I thought as well for the Sixers was that he had one of the probably the most team friendly contracts in the league for the amount of value you were getting and for what you were paying out for him. So seeing him go, I think definitely did hurt. Um, I liked him on this team, and I think on a Doc Rivers team, especially, I think he would have had a much better role and a better fit.
Well, I think he's going to have a perfect role in this Rick Carlisle team. He's kind of that wing player to kind of take some heat off Luca. He's a shooter. He can defend. This team really had to get better on the defensive end. I mean, that's why they lost against the Mavs. Obviously, losing Porzingis didn't help, but when they played the Clippers, they just couldn't defend. And Richardson's going to help considerably. You get a healthy Powell back. You get a healthy Finney Smith back. I'm going to say this again. Tyrell Terry was the best shooter in this draft. He is the next Trae Young. I'm going to tell you that right now. The kid can shoot, shoot, shoot. They also bring in Willie Cauley-Stein, who I think is a very underrated player in the NBA. Good defender, good shot blocker. Always has carved out a nice role in the NBA. Trey Burke as well. I like the Dallas Mavericks. I think 11-1 is way too high. I think you could make a legitimate case. They are the second best team in the West. When all said and done, they may overtake the Clippers. Obviously, we know the Clippers are good, and it's all going to be very dependent on Paul George and that second unit. But I don't think Serge Ibaka makes them a significantly better team. I think 22-1 and 11-1 are two very good prices, not only to win the West, but win the whole thing. I took the Mavs. I also took a shot with the Phoenix Suns. I mean, why not? Why can't the Phoenix Suns? I mean, they love getting blowjobs. Maybe they can love winning games. Chris Paul's the difference here. Ricky Rubio was a good guard, but Chris Paul's a fucking great guard. Okay. He's a Hall of Famer. And to add him with Devin Booker is kind of scary. I'll tell you where this team got strong, Joe. That's defensively. You bring in Jay Crowder, who's one of the more underrated defenders in the last 10 years in this league. He can guard the best player on any team. You get Mikal Bridges back. He's a good defender. DeAndre Ayton, he had a terrific season last year. I think depth-wise, I like it. Cameron Payne, Eachwan Moore, Cameron Johnson, Dario. You bring in Javon Carter. You got Jalen Smith in the draft. I'm telling you, watch out for the Phoenix Suns. They scored a lot of points last year. Could they get some stops? I think you're going to get more stops this year. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to say this until I'm fucking blue in the face. They're going to win a series. Mark that down.
Yeah, I think so too. And when you look at the Suns, last year they end up getting 73 games in, which I think is going to be for bettors. I think what happened last year, as far as every team basically playing somewhere in the range of 71 to 74 games, we kind of get a good parameter on, what they did last year pushing into this year. I think the Suns over under. So right now, if you go over to Barstool Sportsbook, your first deposit bonus, 100% risk-free bet up to $500, FYI. if you go over to Barstool Sportsbook, what they're doing, and I think is really smart, is they're giving your over under based on winning percentage. Just
Hmm.
because this year we don't know how many games are going to get played, but let's say they play all 72 games. Right now, their winning percentage is set at 52.5%. That basically equals out to 38 wins. They won 34 games last year. I don't know
Yeah,
how you look at this team and tell me they're not bare
way
minimum
better.
four
Yeah,
wins better. I think
no, I
that's
agree.
stealing money. So I would say one of my favorite futures is that over for the Suns in the regular season. And back to Dallas, when you look at Dallas, so Dallas finished seventh last year in the West. The teams that finished in front of them: Utah, OKC, Houston, Denver, LA, and LA. I mean, the Lakers are the only team on that list that I think we would both feel comfortable in saying, yeah, they're definitely better than Dallas. I'm with you. I think they're the second best team in the West. I, I don't think the Clippers really did get any better. And I mean, not for nothing, Dallas is the most fun team to watch in the league by a mile.
Yeah, I mean, Luka Doncic is must-watch TV, and that's, I mean, shout out to them for hitting on it. He's just terrific. I love
Will
him.
you put some money on him to win MVP?
Sure, I definitely would. I think he's got plenty of value. I think they're going to be very relevant, as we know, and that's important. It's just tough because it's as we know in the NBA, it's a popularity contest. If LeBron gets there, it'll be his trophy. But yeah, I like that. I like. I don't know if you saw, but LaMelo Ball. I mean, he looked really good in that first.
He looked really, really good.
Again, he didn't score, but he did a lot of things to help them and make them better. He's an interesting kid to win the Rookie of the Year. But yeah, I'm very high on the Suns. I think when you bet win totals, you obviously have to have a lot of money because you're tying money up for months on end, and it's basically a coin flip as far as you're not getting any plus money or anything. But if I had millions of dollars, I would make a fairly sizable bet responsibly on the Suns. I think that's a good win total. I really do. I think that has a ton of value. They're definitely 5 games better than they were last year. They just are. They're much better defensively, and they have a Hall of Famer added to this roster. If they don't win 40 games, I would be pretty surprised. I think they're going to win 43, 44. I think they're much better.
Yeah, I mean that's why that number almost seems so low that it's almost feel like I almost won't bet it because I'm so scared because it's so
Yeah.
obvious that I feel like it's gonna lose. So no, I'm with you there. And as far as rookie of the year, yeah, if I'm putting money on that, I know Ball is the favorite, but I'm probably gonna ride with it anyway. The only other kid I kind of like there is Anthony Edwards, but he's gonna have a tough time getting time. The T Wolves just signed Malik Beasley, 4 years, 60
Yes.
million, so they're gonna play him. They have D'Angelo Russell. They got that other kid, Josh
Okogie.
Okaji,
Yeah.
yeah, who averaged 25 minutes last year. He's just gonna have a really hard time getting enough time to beat out Ball. So with that, plus you get LaMelo at plus 400 odds. I think that's good enough to ride out for the favorite if you can, quadruple your money. So I like Ball for rookie of the year. I think just like MVP, it's a little bit of a popularity contest, and he's kind of the name going in. For me, MVP, I like Durant at plus 13 odds, and I love if the Suns do what we're saying they're going to do.
Booker.
I love Booker at 2,500 odds. I
Yeah.
mean, how do you not?
Yeah. No, I don't hate it. I don't hate any of those. I think they're all very astute observations. One other team that I want to throw out there before the season starts. Look, I've said this time and time again. This team's going to be on my card a lot this year. I bet a lot of underdogs in the NBA. I don't lay points above
I think I
10
know where
ever.
you're going, and I think I agree.
Where do you think I'm going?
I think you're going Detroit.
Well, I actually like Detroit a lot, but that's not the team I'm saying. I think Detroit's going to cover and win a lot of games. They're going to be very much on my wavelength. I'm looking at Sacramento. You look at last year, Joe, as an underdog, Sacramento 28-18 against the number. That's
Wow.
61%. That's pretty high level. And Sacramento, and again, this is very reliant on if they can keep Buddy Hield, which I think they're going to. Him and Fox are really good. Halliburton, he can come in and play as well. Jamias Ramsey, I had him as a top 22 pick. You still have Harrison Barnes, who's a solid veteran. Begley comes back from an injury. And Rashawn Holmes actually played pretty well for them. They also get Hassan Whiteside, Frank Kaminsky. They have Jabari Parker. This is a decent team. I think they're going to be a good offensive group. I think they're going to have struggle getting stops, but They covered a lot of games last year. I've said before, and I'll say it again. The West, I don't think there's a horrific team in the West. There's some horrific teams in the East, but if you can find me a bad team, like a truly like 15-win team in the West, I'd like to see it. I don't think there is one. They're all solid. They all are playing, will play hard. They'll all give you something.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the worst team in the West last year was Golden State, and they're
I mean,
getting,
they're way better.
yeah, they're getting right off the bat, they're getting their best player back.
There's no Cleveland in the West. There's
No, not
no,
at all.
there's no just really. I mean, even a team like the Grizzlies. I mean, I think the Grizzlies are improved. I love Morant. I like some of the solid defensive pieces they have. I like Xavier Tillman, a kid they brought in from Michigan State. I think he's the next Draymond Green. I really like that group. So yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. I'm very excited about the NBA because I bet it a lot different than most people. I'm looking where the public isn't. I'm looking at situations, and as we get closer to the year, we'll go through and do a little bit more of a deep dive into what you have to do to beat the NBA and what I've done over the years to do well in the NBA. I did good in the bubble last year. Ask people that know. Deke Zucker, he's a prime example. He'll tell you how good I am at the NBA. He knows that I know what I'm looking at. So, all right, we got to wrap this thing up. We've been on too long. I didn't want it to be an hour and a half show. How long have we been on? Do you know?
It's been like an hour 20, hour 25.
Okay, not too bad. I thought it
Not
was a
too
little
bad.
more, but all right. I want to really say this, and look, Ryan's great. I love having Ryan. We weren't able. I know he was doing some stuff with his parents tonight. I thought this was a terrific show. I really enjoyed it. Matt Cox, full of knowledge. Had a great time with him. He's a great college basketball guy. Couple of thoughts. It's not a big card, so we obviously wanted to just fill it up. But Joe, I'm really excited about the NBA. It's going to be fun this year to bet on this as well. Just another thing to kind of add to the toolbox, as they say.
Yeah, I'm excited as well, and I'm like you. I have some NBA strategy betting strategies. For me, I'm more of a live better when it comes to the NBA. I try to look
Yep.
for some favorite discounts, but I'm excited to get into that this year.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right, guys, that's that for us. I have a feeling, and I'm just saying this, we might have a pretty big guest on Wednesday. Just saying. I'm working on some really cool guests. Obviously, we don't have Big Cat and Hank scheduling our guests like other shows do, but we do roll our sleeves up, Joe, and get some guests in here. So I've got a basketball legend down the road that we're going to have on, and a pretty damn good mid-major basketball coach, hopefully on Wednesday as well. So look forward to that. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Matt Cox, for coming on. Follow Matt in the three-man weave right now. We'll be back Wednesday here with another edition of Big Man on Basketball. Have a great night. Bye-bye.